My favourite business lesson is really to be honest. What I found throughout my career was that, we all have our demons that we need to face, and the best way to overcome them is to be really honest. So whether for me it was not going to university, or whether it was being dyslexic, or whether it was my sexuality, what I found best was that when I had faced my demons, then I was the sort of person that people actually wanted to go on with. When I hid them and covered them up, then actually that wasn't a good position to be. So I learned a lot by being very open and being very honest. Well, I left school at 17. I started life in the steel industry in Scotland. My mother basically was a waitress there. My father died at 14. We didn't have the money for me to go to university. And my mother got a job as a waitress in the director's dining room. And they were looking for what they call pre-graduates. And my mother said, "Oh, Charles is a bright young man." So that was how I got my first job. And then moved from there to work for Gallagher's, the cigarette company. They were moving me to London, and frankly, living in a bed in London didn't have much appeal. So then I had the option to go to work for Levi Strauss in Paris, or to work for Grand Met in the Middle East. I went to the Middle East for a year, thinking I'd make a bit of money and come back to London. I spent 5 years there. And then I did a number of different jobs. I was trained as an accountant at that point in time, and then I became international HR director. So I went round the world recruiting people from literally 30, 40 countries in the world to work in the Middle East. And then at the age of 28, I came back and was the managing director of a vending company, something called Compass Vending. We did the management buyout of Compass. Compass is now a £6 billion company. I then became the chief executive of the Compass Group, the catering operation, and then I moved to Granada, where I ran all their what they called leisure businesses, which was nightclubs, 10-pin bowling, motorway services. And then I've been there a year, and I was asked to become the chief executive of Granada Television, and that's how I started a 20-year career in the media. Granada then basically then bought up all the other various companies. So Granada bought LWT, bought Yorkshire Television, and then Granada then ended up being ITV. And I was the chief executive of ITV. I was the youngest chief executive at 35 in the FTSE 100. And then I retired from there at 50. I'm 53, and then went on. I've got a portfolio career. I've been recently chairman of EMI. I'm chairman of Global, the radio group, working with Ashley Tabor on private equity and investment and private investments. And I sit on the range of different boards. I sit on the board of LOCOG, London Olympics. I've also done things like the Commonwealth Games. So I've done a few things. I think the big challenge, I think the whole issue of diversity, particularly sexuality, was a big issue around the city 20 years ago. I think there still are issues around sexuality. And I think the issue for me was I didn't want to be gay businessman Charles Allen. I wanted to be accepted as a business person. But equally, I didn't want to not front it. So I think from my perspective, it was about making it part of my career. And I was very fortunate that the late Lord Bernstein, who was the chairman of Granada, and Sir Jerry Robinson, who was the chief exec, were really helpful in managing that transition. So they were really quite instrumental in managing that process. And I think, going back to something I said earlier, it was about me facing my demons, whatever they were. I never really wanted to be gay. It just happened to be part of my life, and therefore it was addressing that as an issue for me was more important. Once I'd addressed it, then it was easier for other people to address it, because if I hadn't addressed it and I wasn't happy about it, then neither could other people be happy. So it's not about making it the only thing you talk about, but it's actually not, not shying away from it either. I think my leadership style's changed over the years. I think when you're a younger manager, you're very task focused and you're getting on with the task. And I think as you get older, you become more experienced. And I think, you become more of a coach. And the thing I like about this stage of my career is the coaching and mentoring and support that you can give to either younger executives or chief executive in the role of chairman. Then my role is also to be their mentor and tormentor. But you're there to support them, you're there to lead them, and it's less about necessarily being hands-on. So I think in your career, you need different styles for different jobs, but equally you need different styles for different teams. And I think that's what I've enjoyed, the range and diversity of working in 15 different sectors over the last 25 years has given me a great insight into what works, what works, what motivates you. And I suppose put simply, I mean, I think you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. And therefore it's about coaching people along, so it's coaching them along rather than pushing them along. And I think it's about helping and coaching people. The other thing I think is really important is you set very high hurdles. You set high barriers, and then even if you don't think and they don't think they can achieve it, it's setting high hurdles, and then the pleasure you get when you've achieved that is amazing. I think there's a real diversity dividend in business. I learned that many years ago when I chaired Race for Opportunity with business in the community, and that really was the start of my personal engagement in diversity and inclusion, because it was proving to people that this wasn't just a nice add-on, that it was actually an integral part of good business as such. And I think learning those lessons, it's ensuring that in everything you do, then you have to have a diverse and inclusive workforce. It's absolutely crucial, and there's a real business benefit. And businesses that don't recognise that, I think more so over the next 10 years, will actually lose out. I think the first thing is to be tenacious. And there will be lots of barriers, lots of hurdles, lots of challenges. And I think the people that I love working for me are the people that they don't know or they can't do it. They just don't know. They just keep going at it, whether it's going over the problem, around the problem, under the problem. Be tenacious and never give up. Because it's about those people who really are tenacious. It doesn't matter your creed, your colour, your sexuality, your gender. It's about really being tenacious. And sometimes the bigger the challenge, the more it brings out the best in you. So I would encourage people to just keep going. I think the only thing I would say is that what's motivated me in the past is the bigger the challenge, the better I am. Whether that was running ITV or whether that was running the Commonwealth Games or trying to save EMI or being part of the team that bid for the Olympics. I think people are at their best when they really are challenged, and also when they have good people around them that support them. Whether that's personal relationships, it's about unconditional love in business, and it's finding somebody who loves you unconditionally in business that gives you the confidence and the motivation to do that. So finding people like that early on in your career is a really good thing to do. So look out for the people that are there for you, that can be your mentor and tormentor, somebody who can give you unconditional love. That's not being soft, that's about being there and being supportive of you. And if you find that early on in your career, you've got a much greater chance of success.